Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over one of the newer weapons to the game, the Coda Pox. But before we go over that, let's go over our commenter board. Our first commenter of the last video was Logan's2976, and our top commenter of the last video was Satao Tat Sahuro 866. And we have our recent channel supporters here of Whoop-De-Wham, Nice Bear, and Colonel Suro 6. Thank you so much for your support. I also just wanted to mention that I'm going to be adding a new game to the channel that I'm doing once in a while, and that's going to be Dune Awakening. It just came out about a week ago, and I did my first video on it yesterday, which was just more of a recruitment video, but you could probably expect about like one Dune video per week if you're interested in that. So if that's something that you're interested in, just keep an eye out for it. Unique and interesting things about the Coda Pox is that it has innate toxic on it. Its shots explode in a 2.8 meter radius on impact, and that damage area actually lasts for 4 seconds, ticking damage per second. And weirdly, the mod Galvanized Shot actually affects that lingering tick damage, which is a very weird interaction. And then unique, not necessarily just to this weapon, but to Lich type weapons in general, is that they also come with an additional element called a progenitor element that you get to pick. All right, let's go over the build now. And I actually have two builds for you here today. I have the first one, which is a viral heat build. This is going to be assuming that you do not have an external way to produce viral. And so you're going to be putting viral on the weapon itself. And then the second build is blast and toxic. And this is going to be assuming that you do have an external way to produce viral, like the Panzerwelpe Pet or the Subsume Nourish. And that's because viral is important for this weapon. If you were just to compare the viral heat build versus the blast and toxic build without externals, the viral heat build completely dumpsters the blast toxic build. It's not even close. In fact, it dumpsters it so much, I think I could probably remove 3 of these mods and it would still beat the blast and toxic build. And actually I was really disappointed in Overframe today. So when I do a build, sometimes when I'm done with my build, I go on Overframe just to double check that I didn't miss anything obvious, which happens sometimes. But I check Overframe and all of the top builds that are so many votes are blast and toxic, and none of them are saying to use external viral. And when you just theory craft this weapon, it does make sense to go blast toxic, but it only takes 30 seconds of testing to let you realize that viral heat is ridiculously more powerful than just blast toxic. And that's the difference between theory crafting and actually testing. It's okay to theory craft, but you need to test it at the end. And so again, I'll show both of these builds off here. We have viral heat, blast toxic, but the blast and toxic one is only viable if you are producing consistent external viral. If that's the case, then yes, it can be better than the viral heat one. All right, enough about that. Let's get into the build. All right, so let's go over the mods now for the viral heat build. And we're going to start with the progenitor, which is heat. And the heat progenitor is actually going to be for both of the builds anyway. So heat progenitor, galvanized diffusion for multi-shot, galvanized shot for status chance of flat damage, hornet strike for flat damage, lethal torrent for fire rate and multi-shot, prime target cracker for critical damage. If you notice, we don't have any critical chance mods on the build, and that's because our arcane is going to take care of all of our critical chance for us. In the next 2 slots, we have the 60-60 cold and the 60-60 toxic to make viral. And in the next slot, we have primed heated charge for that big plus 165% heat. Now, the reason you go with a heat progenitor and then you also go with primed heated charge is because we're trying to increase our heat weighting. And it's one of the unfortunate things where when you have a weapon that comes with innate toxic like the Coda Pox, it almost ends up being a detriment because when you go viral on it, it ends up overweighting your viral. And if you see here, even with primed heated charge and a heat progenitor, although I have a pretty low roll on my progenitor, our heat is about the same as our viral. And usually that's not what you want. You want a higher heat weighting. Unfortunately, we can't get so much higher here. There are some weird janky ways that some people do to underweight their viral. Some people will do like 1-star mods to underweight their viral. I personally don't like to do that, but you know, there's options if you really wanted to, but it's fine without doing that. In the Exila slot, we go primed pistol ammo mutation, and that's because this weapon has a really bad ammo pool, and you can actually throw those little poxes out really quickly. So the combo of those two things is not a good combo. You end up running out of ammo really quickly. So the primed pistol ammo mutation helps that a lot. And in the arcane slot, we're going to go for secondary enervate. This basically just gives us good crit chance on a weapon that doesn't have any crit chance really. So if you look, the weapon has 10% critical chance, so pretty bad. And its critical damage, well, its base critical damage, this is modded here, but its base critical damage is 2.2, which is slightly above average. So bad critical chance, slightly above average critical damage. That makes for an excellent candidate for secondary enervate. All right, so now we have the second build, which is the Blast Toxic build. Just remember, this is the one where you really need external viral. If you don't have external viral, you're better off using the viral heat build. So we have Galvanized Diffusion for multi-shot, Galvanized Shot for status chance and flat damage, Hornet Strike for flat damage, Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot, Prime Target Cracker for critical damage. So far everything's the same, but the next 3 mods are going to be different. So now we use these 2 mods to make Blast. So that's going to be the 60/60 Cold and the 165 Heat to make Blast. And in the last slot, we use Pistol Elementalist, which is plus 90% status damage, which kind of makes your Blast do double damage, which is really strong with Blast. Actually, it's really strong with Gas too, but we're going Blast in this case. In the Exilus slot, we go Prime Pistol Ammo Mutation for the same reason we did for the first build. And in the Arcane slot, we're still going Secondary Enervate, again for the same reason we did in the first build. This is how you build out the secondary, the Coda Pox. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content. So now we'll have a 5-minute gameplay portion showcasing the weapon, and when that's done, we'll come back to the Orbiter and we'll go over how the weapon did and where it ranks and scores. So I'll see you guys again back in the Orbiter. All right, we're about to start this 5-minute gameplay portion up. Let's go ahead and hack the terminal here. And it should be this door to the left here that opens. We'll see how this little Coda Pox does. It's a pretty good weapon. You know, I'm not a huge fan of it. It's okay though. I've already done my 3 10-minute runs, so I know how it's going to score already. It actually ends up scoring pretty well. I'm just not a giant fan of it myself. Because it's like, it's an AoE weapon, but you still want to get direct hits because it's got that weird janky thing where shot actually kind of works on it if you get direct hits. So it's just, it's weird. It's like, if I want to play an AoE weapon, I want to just be able to shoot at the floor if I really want to. I mean, you could technically shoot at the floor with this weapon too, and it'll still do okay. But I don't know, that's my little gripe about it. I want to go full 1 brain cell mode if I'm going to use an AoE weapon. And with this one, you need to use at least 2 to 3 brain cells. The build I'm using right now is the Viral Heat build, of course, just because I don't use any externals when it comes to my showcase runs. That way people can replicate my build, and it works exactly as was shown. But if you did want to use externals and you had external Viral, consider that Blast Toxic setup instead. Because that is a good setup if you have external Viral. Without external Viral, you will be very, very sad with that setup. I also just want to mention too that the Galvanized Shot, I mean, it's not increasing the damage of this by a huge amount. So like, it is a candidate for a ribbon slot if you really had like a a really good Riven and for some reason it didn't replace Hornet Strike, because I think Hornet Strike would probably be the first thing I would replace, maybe, if it had like flat damage on my Riven. But for some reason, if you didn't want to replace Hornet Strike, I mean, Galvanized Shot is an okay Riven slot. Just because it works on this weapon doesn't mean it's like the best thing for this weapon. It's a mediocre mod for this weapon. So it's definitely a Riven slot candidate. You have Violence here. You're gonna see, I mean, it does okay against Violence. Even though you can't stack a crazy amount of statuses on him, like the actual damage of it and like the ticks that happen actually do a pretty good amount of damage to him. I do need to hit some life sports though.
If you have a necromech, this would be an excellent place to deploy it.
Oh, there you are. You came to visit me. All right, he's down. Let's get back up there and meet our little group of guys that we left back here. Got a little Congo line of enemies here. Just randomly throwing it into the dudes in the door. Got my weapon stolen, as is tradition. All right, we're almost at 5 minutes. We'll kill the Thraxes with it. And then we'll get to the conclusion. And now, the thrilling conclusion.
The longer you hold out, the more I can search. But if you need to leave, extraction material. Tenno, the void is summoned to new presence and craves our life support. Destroy these.
Don't worry, we're leaving after this guy here. Alrighty. So what was that? 367 in 5 minutes. I was kind of messing about too, but yeah, it puts us on track for a little bit over 700. So, all right, end it here. Welcome back to the Orbiter, guys. So let's go over how the Coda Pox did in its 3 10-minute runs on Steel Path Lewis Circulus. It got 857, 838, and 692 kills. Now that 692 kill run was a little bit unfortunate. I usually don't like when one of my runs was over 100 kills different than the other ones, and the 692 is about 150 kills less than that 857 one, so I don't really like. That probably just means that I had a really bad tile set when I was farming on that 692 compared to the other 2 runs. But regardless, those numbers mean it's in the A tier for kill per minute potential. When it comes to single target, it's pretty good. It applies a lot of statuses really quickly, which means it's better on Thraxes than it is on the Acolyte, who can't have, more than 4 statuses applied to him, but it's still not bad on the Acolyte either. I would say I'm really struggling between maybe like B+ or A-, but I think I will give it like an A- here for single target. When it comes to ease of use, it's a really easy weapon to use. You are going to want to hit enemies directly just to kind of make more use out of that galvanized shot and the tick damage that it does in that surrounding area, the weird interaction that it actually works with that mod for some weird reason. But otherwise, it's still pretty easy to use. You don't have to aim down sights. You don't have to do anything crazy with it. It has an AoE. So I think for ease of use, I would say it is A tier. So that's my take on it. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing day. All right, bye.